Welcome back to the PCC Podcast. And today we are going to be covering a topic that I don't think we have covered on this podcast before, and that is alcohol. Today's episode, Alcohol 101. Welcome to class. So today we're going to be covering really just the truth about alcohol in your fitness journey and how you can make progress in fat loss, in your overall wellness and lifestyle journey while enjoying your favorite beverages. And I know that that's maybe hard to believe, maybe based on what you've learned from the rest of the industry or just what your preconceived notions around alcohol have been. So we're going to debunk a lot today. We are going to be staying rooted in facts and the evidence. So let's dive in. So first and foremost, what the heck is alcohol? Okay, so we're going to talk about what is alcohol, how it does impact your body in both the short and long term, what the research says about alcohol and muscle gain, fat loss, etc., what our take is at PCC, and then how to incorporate alcohol in a balanced way into your protocols. So let's get started. Number one, what the heck is alcohol? So it is the fourth macronutrient. Okay, so macronutrients are our big players, our carbs, our fats, our proteins, and alcohol is technically the fourth. We just don't tend to track it intentionally, right? It is actually 7 calories per gram. So it's a little bit closer to fat. Fat is about 9 calories per gram, whereas carbs and protein are 4 calories per gram. So it's a little more on the calorically dense side. So that right off the bat, right, is going to take up more calories per unit of volume and makes it easy to overconsume. It does molecularly function a little bit more like a fat molecule, but honestly, when you break down like how it's digested, it's not super similar to either carbs or fats or protein. But if I had to make an analogy, what I have read in the research and from evidence-based practitioners is that it's most like a fat molecule. But really what happens when you drink alcohol and when you have alcohol in your body is your body shuts off the digestion of everything else because it is a toxin. And so alcohol being a toxin, when your body perceives it being ingested, it's essentially going to send alarms across the body to say, hey, stop what you're doing. I need to get this toxin out because it is poison. And so your energy systems, the systems of your body that metabolize different sources of energy, that metabolize carbohydrate, that metabolize fat, that even metabolize protein, are going to be put on a quick little pause because all resources are going to shift to being devoted to metabolizing alcohol and getting rid of it and using it as energy first. So we'll talk about the implications of that in a second, but essentially you can kind of infer, okay, well, this is going to slow down digestion of other things, right? So let's talk about like, how does alcohol impact your body in the short term and long term? I do want you guys to know the facts, even though my take on having alcohol in your fitness journey is not extreme and probably will surprise you. We do still want to know what it does to our progress in smaller ways. So alcohol in the short term, because of the mechanism of it being a toxin and shutting off the digestion of other things, this can reduce muscle protein synthesis. This is the process by which our body repairs muscle tissue when it's been damaged from training. It can reduce that by up to 37% after training. So if you were to go get a workout in and then go straight to have some beers, your recovery could be blunted by about 40%. What I always like to tell clients is like, you're just going to be a little more sore for a little bit longer because you won't have recovered quite as well from that session. One that people probably don't realize, because I know that a lot of women in particular that I talk to tend to enjoy a glass of wine before bed. Alcohol does impair the quality of REM sleep. So if you constantly wake up exhausted and you're kind of drained all day and the only thing that makes you feel better is that glass of wine before bed, that is something that could be a very self-perpetuating cycle. Another thing that alcohol does is it does actually influence hormone balance. So it does increase the production of ghrelin, which is our hunger hormone. It's telling our body you're hungry, you have a bigger appetite. You can remember this by thinking like your stomach growling, like ghrelin. and decreases leptin. So leptin is your satiety hormone. This is the hormone that tells us, I'm good. I don't need to eat anymore, do anymore. And this goes down. So when having alcohol, you're going to have increased hunger signals and decreased satiety signals, which can lead to overeating. In addition, not just in the moments of having alcohol in your system, of course, we know that when alcohol is in our system, judgment and willpower is going to be reduced. But even in the days following, this can linger. The activation of our prefrontal cortex, which is our reasoning and logical thinking, rational based thinking section of our brain, is going to be a little bit down-regulated with alcohol in the system. In addition, it also does increase inflammation and oxidative stress on the body. So if you are dealing with a lot of inflammation, drinking on top of it is not going to help your case. It can also disrupt hormone balance on a sex hormone side. So specifically, testosterone and GH get lowered temporarily just from drinking alcohol. And it also, of course, we know this one because if we've ever drank very heavy and then woken up the next day, waking up with a really, really dry mouth, alcohol does cause dehydration as well as electrolyte loss. So if you are, say, working out outside, going on a run in the summer, and you drank the night before, you just want to be very careful to replenish with electrolytes and fluids as much as possible. And then it does deplete your energy the next day. It just leads to overall global fatigue. And what I see this as in terms of practicality is I just see that when we do drink, we tend to have a baseline lower levels of motivation and lower levels of intensity in the gym. So the sessions following a day or a night of drinking typically tend to be worse quality sessions where we're not getting the most out of our training. Now, I do want to anchor this in what the research says. So I will not lie, I'm a little rusty, but over the past 5 to 10 years, studies have shown that drinking truly in moderation, like talking like maybe 2-3 drinks per week, is not going to impact your global results with muscle gain, fat loss, body composition, as much as some people make it out to be. Especially not when you are controlling for total calories, making sure to stay in a calorie deficit even with the consumption of alcohol. What I personally and anecdotally have found is that the downfall when it comes to drinking alcohol is more so in the physiological and psychological effects in the short to moderate term, that like your mood is lower, your motivation is down, your intangibles, the things that affect progress based on your behavior and your choices, get affected indirectly. And that's really what I think makes it harder for people rather than just what it's doing physiologically in the body. So with that being said, studies have shown, right, that moderation is not going to ruin your results. But above that, if you are binge drinking on the weekends, if you are having 2 glasses of wine every single night, there is, research supporting that is going to be counterproductive to your goals. So now I'm going to get into what is our take at PCC. And this is going to include a little bit of everything, but I think the thing that will surprise most people is that I don't believe that alcohol is the enemy. Personally, if you were to ask me what I do, I drink extremely sparingly. And that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But for me, it means I probably have a total of 1 to 2 alcoholic beverages per year, but I try to stay pretty much as sober as humanly possible. It's mainly because I just had a unique college experience, or I guess you could call it a lack of a college experience. I never lived on campus at a school, so I never really developed a nostalgia for alcohol. I never really developed a taste for alcohol. Personally, I think it's all really gross. And then you layer in the effects on the body, the effects on motivation, and the fact that it's dense in calories, and I'm kind of just over it. So that's my personal decision. But the biggest mistake I see a lot of coaches out there make for our clients who come to us and they've worked with a coach before, maybe multiple coaches before, is that they find that the coach's beliefs get projected onto the clients when it's not sustainable for the client's lifestyle, right? Like if you are a fitness coach, we live and breathe this stuff, and our results matter probably to the highest degree relative to anyone that we're going to work with, because we are our own walking billboard, right? We are the example to the highest degree. And so we are probably going to have fitness be the highest, one of the more higher priorities in our life compared to our clients, where it's a priority, but it's not the priority, right? And so our clients might have different preferences of how they want their lifestyle with alcohol to look. And a lot of coaches I see basically can't really see that perspective. And they tend to even come and ask me questions like, how do I get this person to stop drinking? When they're just asking the wrong question. It's how do I get this person to drink in a way that still is in alignment with their goals? But a lot of coaches out there really see it as like, you just can't have this. Otherwise, you're not going to see any progress. So with that being said, when you are a client at PCC, the question that I like to ask first, personally, is not how many drinks do you want to have this weekend? How do you want to limit yourself from drinking? I really like to zoom out first. And the big question that I think most people really need to ask themselves when they're on their health and fitness journey and they're struggling with this concept is, what do you want your relationship with alcohol to look like overall? Like, how does the future version of you relate to alcohol? Meaning, when do you choose to have alcohol? When do you choose to turn it down? And really just asking yourself questions like, what is the purpose that you have alcohol for? In what situations do you or don't you? When it's the best version of you, it's the ideal version of you that you are striving towards overall. And this is truly painting a picture of the ideal. The reason that you want to ask this question is because this is what should direct your choices more than this event's coming up, that event's coming up, how do I handle it? Because if you don't have a North Star, then what are you even measuring it against? And so that question could take you in a couple of very different directions. First and foremost, a lot of people have just never asked themselves that question. And some people do ask themselves that question and think, you know what, I just really don't want to drink anymore. And it's like, okay, well then let's take the steps towards that. But some people do answer that question with like, I would like to be in a place where like I can have one or two, but I really want to let it stop trickling into 3 or 4 or 5 or however many, right? Or, something I hear really often is like, I just want to be someone who doesn't drink on the weekdays. Like they just really struggle with drinking on the weekdays and the weekends, and they feel like that amount is what's holding them back. And so really whatever your North Star is, then that's how we set goals around short-term events and situations, right? You reverse engineer from there. Okay, how far are we away from that reality? And what is one step that we can take in this next event that's coming up to get closer to that, right? Because now it's purposefully driven. It's not just restriction oriented, and it's actually anchored in something that you want. So remember that whenever you are struggling with like, how do I navigate this party coming up, that party coming up? Just remember that moderating is important. Truthfully, moderating to the highest degree possible is most likely going to warrant the fastest results and generally the highest quality of life, motivation, mental clarity, and just ability to follow through more and more. But with the approach that I described to you, we have seen clients lose upwards of 100+ pounds while still having wine on the weekends. And I have that as a podcast episode, a client interview that I did with one client who's lost 120 pounds, and she still drinks wine pretty much every weekend. So just know that alcohol is not an all or nothing thing. It's not a black or white thing. I encourage you to really look at it from all lenses. And if anything, just really go through the pros and cons with yourself of what you want at the end of the day. And, what are the pros and cons of making those changes or sacrifices that get you closer to that goal? Alcohol can definitely hinder you from seeing the results that you want to see, but it can also be incorporated in moderation in a way that doesn't hold you back. So it really is what you do with the substance that creates, honestly, the relationship that you can have with it and how it impacts you in return. So next, let's get into how do you log alcohol? So really, there's kind of three situations I see. If you track your macros, if you track just calories and protein, we got a lot of clients that do that. But we also have just like mindful swaps you can make. If you don't track anything and you're like, I don't know what all these numbers mean, like I just need to know what to order. So with macros, if you're tracking your macros, then what you're going to want to do is allocate alcohol as either a carb or a fat. You want to steer away from logging it as protein, because it is definitely not going to digest similar to protein, but carbs and fats we can take away from the other calories that we're using. What I recommend is try to make sure that you're planning your day to hit both protein and fiber, and then using excess calories outside of that to use alcohol. So you're going to log it as either carbs, fat, or a combination of both. So basically, you're going to take the approximated amount of alcohol that you're having and look at the total number of calories that are in the drink. Now, I know that when you look up alcoholic beverages on your MyFitnessPal or on your tracking app, it's going to give you a drink that maybe does have some carbs already allocated in it or something like that. Like it might say, like a White Claw, like it might say 100 calories, but also have 4 carbs. Don't worry about the carbs within. What you're going to want to do is take the total calories, and then you're going to divide it by either 4 calories per gram for carbs or 9 calories per gram for fat, or half and half, some of both. So for example, the White Claw, the 100-calorie White Claw, 50 calories, if I were to split that in half, 50 calories divided by 4 is going to be something like 11 something grams of carbs. And then if I divide those 50 calories by 9, I can't do math, so I'm going to look that up. 50 divided by 9. It's going to be about 5.6 grams of fat. So I'm going to go into my app and I'm going to search carbs and fat, and I'm going to log them each respectively. In addition, if I'm only doing it towards carbs, one drink is going to equate to 100 calories divided by 4, 25 grams of carbohydrates, or 100 calories divided by 9. I believe that is 100 divided, it should be like 11. Yeah, 11.1. So you can go ahead and log that either way. If you are just tracking calories and protein, congratulations, you have it super easy. All you need to do is find the total calorie amount of the drink and plug it into your app. Don't worry about any of the additional nutrition facts. It literally doesn't matter because it's not going to contribute to protein. I'll guarantee you that. And then the rest goes to calories. Boom, easy, done. Next, for mindful swaps, we do have a free alcohol guide that we put together with, I think, over 12 or 15 different drink options that you can order or make at home and just be a low-calorie bartender for yourself, including things beyond just your traditional vodka and club or whiskey and Diet Coke. So a couple of more options there for you to make it a little bit more exciting. So if you do want that guide, it's completely free. And you just have to send me the message alcohol on Instagram, and I can send that right over to you. So we have a bunch of mindful swaps that you can do there. So let me know if this was helpful for you. Shoot me a message if you listened to this episode with your takeaways and your feedback. And thank you guys so much for listening. I know that your attention is your most valuable resource. So thank you for giving us your attention for this time. And we'll see you back here next week for the next episode.